Well, it looks like West Virginia has finally found their wide receivers coach, and it was not who I was expecting. And I think West Virginia's offense could look completely different in 2022. Stay tuned, and I'll explain. What is up, college sports fans, fellow members of Mountaineer Nation? This is Coos. Welcome to another edition of Coos' Corner, where I'm serving up college football and even some college basketball content to you almost every single day. If you like that, you need to hit that red subscribe button if you haven't yet. If you like this video, please give me that thumbs up. It really helps that YouTube algorithm for me. Let me know in the comment section what you think about West Virginia's new wide receivers coach, which I'll tell you about in just a minute. Please check me and my colleagues out at the Coast to Coast CFB Network on Facebook and on Twitter. Now let's get on with the show. Most of you remember I did 2 videos on potential candidates to replace Gerad Parker as West Virginia's wide receivers coach. I told you who I thought should get the job and who they should interview for the job. I don't know if any of those guys were considered or not, but none of them got the job. And the guy who got it, I had never heard of until now. His name is Tony Washington. The last 2 seasons, he's been the wide receivers coach at Coastal Carolina for the Chanticleers under Coach Jamie Chadwell. And we all know that Coastal Carolina has done really well and been really successful during those 2 seasons. During his time at Coastal Carolina, Washington coached a gentleman by the name of Javion Heileigh. Javion Heileigh played for Coastal Carolina for 3 years, 2 of those under Coach Washington. His first season at Coastal Carolina, Heileigh caught 46 balls for 497 yards. In comes Tony Washington. In 2020, Heileigh's production goes up dramatically, especially on the yardage front. He catches 65 balls for double the yardage, 998. 2021, even more production. He has 66 catches, this time for 1,128 yards and 7 touchdowns. He also had 10 touchdowns the year before in 2020. I forgot to add that. In 2 seasons, Heileigh caught 111 balls for over 2,000 yards and 17 touchdowns. And what makes that even more impressive, Coastal Carolina runs a triple option offense. A spread triple option, which means they run the ball majority of the time. Ran it over 500 times, only passed it over 300 times. Yet they still had a receiver with 1,128 yards in yards. What that tells me, 1, when they do pass it, they do it well. 2, they get a lot of big plays. Heileigh averaged over 17 yards a catch in the 2021 season for Coastal Carolina. That goes right into what Graham Harrell said in one of his interviews. One of the main attributes of an air raid offense is big plays. They want big plays. They want a lot of yards, and they want to get them in chunks. Tony Washington has experience doing that with his receivers at Coastal Carolina. Now let's go back into Tony Washington's history, look at his history a little bit, even before he got to Coastal Carolina. He grew up in High Point, North Carolina, went to high school, played his ball there. Played his college ball in Boone, North Carolina at Appalachian State University, who are also known as the Mountaineers, by the way. He's in the top 10 at Appalachian State in several categories at the receiver position. So he was a star there. He went on to play 4 seasons in the NFL with the Indianapolis Colts, Jacksonville Jaguars, and New England Patriots. He went back and forth between practice squad and active roster during his time in the pros before getting into coaching in 2018. His first coaching job was doing quality control for the offensive staff at East Carolina in 2018. In 2019, he was a grad assistant at Louisville for head coach Scott Satterfield, who he played for at Appalachian State. And then in 2020, he got the job as wide receivers coach at Coastal Carolina. And I told you about the success he had there. Well, here's where I think West Virginia's offense will look a lot different, or could look a lot different in 2022. But both offenses focus on getting rid of the ball quickly. They give the quarterback flexibility to make decisions, and they rely on big plays. Now, one of the differences is the air raid typically is typically a pass first offense, whereas the option is a run first offense. But that being said, Graham Harrell has stated in interviews he wants to run the football. Coach Brown has made it a point to run the football. And they both want to run the football successfully. Graham Harrell has shown in the past, even at USC, that he does want to run the football. Now, I know USC passed the ball a lot, but they were behind a lot, so they were forced to. But in games where USC could, they ran the football a lot. And they even ran the football at times with a tight end in the game. Graham Harrell will use a tight end sometimes too. He likes to do that and is willing to do that. The cool thing about the Coastal Carolina offense, they often have a fullback in the game. They will line up a fullback or a tight end, H-back, whatever you want to call it. They'll line them up behind the line of scrimmage. Sometimes they'll use them to block and get more yards in the run game. Sometimes they'll send them out in a passing route and catch the passes. We know that Michael Laughlin will be coming back for West Virginia. We know they went out and got a blocking tight end in the transfer portal. And we know that they'll have a couple other tight ends on the roster this year. They're pretty deep at that position. So I expect Graham Harrell and this offense, with Tony Washington's help, to utilize the tight ends in the passing game a lot this year. The receivers will probably be blocking a lot because they're used to blocking under that option offense. Maybe they can improve their blocking downfield, which they did struggle with at times. I think a lot of times that prevented West Virginia from getting big plays in the run game. The receivers probably did not always block the way they could have downfield. Maybe Washington can bring that to the table in Morgantown. Another thing I find intriguing, marrying the two offenses together. Keep in mind that Washington played for Coach Scott Satterfield and then coached under him for a year. Scott Satterfield is known as an offensive mastermind. Scott Satterfield played under a pro-style offense, but he's coached a spread offense, an option offense, different, and he'll marry those things together a lot. And Coastal Carolina kind of married a spread and an option together. So can West Virginia marry the air raid and the option together? I think they can, and here's how. Greene, even if he's not the starting quarterback this year, if you bring Garrett Greene in the game in certain situations, he would be great, in my opinion, as an option quarterback. You give him the option to hand it off, or to keep it, or to pass it, potentially even, or to toss it. Set up in Coastal Carolina, like to set up in a lot of two-back sets. They ran 21 personnel a lot, which is two backs, one tight end. You could have Tony Mathis, Lynn J. Dixon in the backfield together with Garrett Greene. Garrett Greene could either hand it to Tony Mathis coming up the middle, he could keep it, or he could toss it to Lynn J. Dixon for a run around the end, or Justin Johnson or Jalen Anderson or whatever running back's in the game. We know that Garrett Greene can run the football. Heck, Nico Marchiel can probably even run the football if he needed to. He's shown the ability to run the ball in his high school film. So if you got Nico in the game, with Tony Mathis, Lynn J. Dixon, Michael Laughlin at the tight end spot, I could see him running some option. You could run two quarterback system with Nico and Garrett or Goose and Garrett. I love it, man. I think it's a great idea. I think with the offensive, I think with Neil Brown, Graham Harrell, Tony Washington, all these guys in the same room together, and then add in Matt Moore, add in running backs coach Chad Scott, add all those guys together in a room. Then you add in the fact that all of our starting offensive linemen are coming back. West Virginia already likes to use some read option, which factors in here. We could be setting up for a team that can run the ball really, really well and even potentially even run some option. And then you blend in some air raid with that option. Think about that, guys. An air raid option, a spread air raid option offense. Would that not be exciting? Offense will be great again in Morgantown. Make offense great again in Morgantown. That's going to be the theme for 2022. Make the offense great again. I love it. Tony Washington, I wasn't sure about this hire until I got to studying up on the history and got to thinking, man, the ideas that could flow out of that offensive room when these guys get together and start brainstorming, I think it's awesome, man. I think the West Virginia offense is going to be really exciting again in 2022. I'm already excited for the season. I know it's only February. I know we got to wait till late August, early September to watch college football again, but I'm pumped. I'm pumped up when I think of all the ideas, man, all the things that could potentially flow from this offense and from all the guys we have returning and the talent we've picked up through the recruiting and through the portal. 2022 is the year they make offense great again in Morgantown, guys. Listen, if you want to watch the 2 videos I did where I told you other potential wide receiver coach candidates, check them out right here. Again, I ask you, if you haven't, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. Please share this with all your college sports loving friends. Support me financially through joining or through my Patreon page, which I'll leave a link to in the description box. I really appreciate everybody tuning in. Q Country Roads.